Namaste. Welcome to this first session of our Patanjali Meditation 102. This is our extension of the previous course 101 when we learned basic meditation technique based on Patanjali's prescription of Ashtanga Yoga. And now we are going into the Patanjali's original book on Yoga Darshanam, what is called philosophy of yoga, which we did not discuss much except at the very peripheral level. Of course, we borrowed his ideas of Ashtanga Yoga, but we were more emphasizing on the practice part. So this is a course extension of the previous course, and I believe most of you have done the prerequisite of 101, and I expect you are daily practitioner of meditation, so you can benefit from this course when we discuss Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Some of you have not completely done the Patanjali Meditation 101. Welcome. You have not done 101 completely, and I believe some of you have done a preliminary version of 100. Sorry, I forgot to put my phone in the silence mode. I will do that now and hope there is no more further disturbance. Yeah. Actually, we want to keep phone alive because we thought we want to have more interaction. Yeah, that was the reason. Let me keep it on and hope that the other calls don't come. So I think all the attendees of this course have my cell phone number, and my objective in this course now is to teach, of course, the basics of Patanjali Yoga Sutra, and we will do a practice session also, usually towards the end. And I have a specific interest that I want this group, which is I have kept intentionally very small, 15 people, and they get the confidence. They get the confidence that they can pass on the basic meditation technique to others who are interested in learning. So basically, I am thinking in terms of a very simple module of 20 minutes or so. So if a newcomer, a man on the street, walks in with 20 minutes in hand, then we want to make him benefit from meditation to get that feeling of calm and quiet mind. So that's what our objective is. So of course, if you want to teach others this meditation and in a compact manner, because not everybody is interested in philosophy of Patanjali. A common person is just interested in benefiting from meditation technique. So as a teacher, you should be able to compass and with a sense of confidence give him what he or she actually needs from the benefit of meditation. So that is an objective. So what that means is, I think if not from after a couple of sessions, I would be inviting one of you and to conduct or to lead the basic meditation, which we will be doing at the end of the session, last 15-20 minutes. So let's move on with our Patanjali Yoga Sutras. So that's our slide number 1. There's a problem with the aspect ratio. No. Okay. Okay. So this is our first session. I want to give you a background. There are 6 books of Vedic philosophy called Shaddarshanam. All 6 titles are Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshik, Mimamsa, and Vedanta. But I have singled out the very first pair, which is Sankhya and Yoga. So Sankhya is the authored by Kapil, and he is a predecessor of Patanjali, who is the author of Yoga philosophy. So we are discussing Patanjali Yoga here, but I just thought I will go one step back and borrow very few ideas from Kapil's. His book is called Sankhya. So Sankhya is Yoga is preceded by Sankhya, and most of the ideas of yoga are actually covered in Sankhya by Kapil, but Patanjali decided probably to give a larger coverage and larger exposition explanation to what is called yoga philosophy. So my next slide is borrowing something from Sankhya, next few slides, and then I come to Patanjali's slide. So basically, both are, as I said, yoga is an extension of Sankhya, and both are relying on a concept of who am I as such. So as a human being, I am a conscious being, and this is the cornerstone of Vedic philosophy, that my consciousness is not coming out from anything that is made of matter. So my body, my brain, and all these are made of material particles. So they are void of consciousness, and even in their aggregate form, they don't give rise to consciousness. So consciousness is specifically coming from another entity that in this title is called as soul. The original term is Atma, and English translation is soul or spirit, or it could be anything. But it is a technical term because the the Atma, that is my consciousness, is something non-material, which is very difficult to visualize. So in mathematical term, I call it as a singularity. So we are familiar with the most common singularity in geometry or in mathematics is a point. So a point does exist, have any length or width, etc. It is, of course, we make an approximation and use a pencil to point out where is the location of that particular point. And if you are slightly more familiar with mathematics, then we have another function that is called delta function. Delta function has a very small value everywhere, except at a point it has a very large volume, so theoretically infinite value, so that its integral is 1. So that is a better characterization of what we mean by Atma. So imagine something like a point like singularity, which is I'm not using, because technically that is not a correct way It is not that the Atma has an attribute of consciousness. Atma is consciousness itself. So, but don't want to go much into the semantics. So there is a source of consciousness within me, and that is my soul. I am translating Atma as soul, but that's what I mean. So in the form of an analogy, to describe it in a better manner, I will say I am like a thumb in the fist, somewhere in the head region. So if you close your fist such that the thumb is inside, then imagine your thumb is a small point, and that is what you are. That is what I am as a conscious being, and I am enveloped in a shell of mind. So the fingers, etc., that envelops the fist that is enveloping the thumb is my mind domain. So that mind is also very unusual in this philosophy, that it is a very tiny shell, so small. It's made of something like subatomic particles. The point is, if we break open somebody's head, we are not likely to find this tiny shell of mind. And of course, we'll never know where the soul is, because that is just a singularity, a point like entity. So that's what makes all this very unusual, difficult to grasp, but that's what this philosophy is. So, as I said, the cornerstone of the philosophy is consciousness doesn't arise from anything that is physical. So, that's the way it is. But I think it's not that vague, because my personal view is that Patanjali philosophy is a experiential process or an experimental science which finally can validate what we are talking about, body, mind, and soul. Let's put it aside for a while. So just for description, so my thumb is me, and I am in a shell of mind, and that mind shell can be treated as three layers. So that's what is said here. Mind has three components. The inner, let me go into the, using it after a long time. Let's see where I was. How do I, this was, I'm not sure if my friends in the webinar were seeing the slide, because I never went into the screen share mode. So it seems like they were always watching me. And I was thinking they were looking at the screen. So anyway, I did not go into the, let me show that slide which I was talking about. So bad. I'm using webinar after a gap of a couple of months. So my friends who are in the webinar mode, now they will see this slide, which is what I was discussing, but I should have shown you this slide. So just quickly to go through, I am like a thumb in the fist, somewhere in the head region. The thumb is my soul, enveloped by a shell of mind, fingers and palm. And this shell of mind, which has three layers, that's what I was intending to discuss. So I thought I will show you in this. Aspect that this is me. Kind of a dark cinema hall. And then I am watching this part of my mind, that is my mind screen. So this is the inner layer. So this is the word I will use very often, because Patanjali uses this term. This word is chitta. So this term will come very often. And loosely I translate this into English as mind screen, because this is the screen I am always watching. But this is a very fantastic screen. It brings in five-dimensional image: sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. Of course, when you go into a cinema hall, you have a white screen which is showing the visual pictures, and from some other speakers you get audio signals, etc. But here, this is the screen which displays all sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch one after another, and then you become aware of it, and then you say, okay, I see, I hear, and I smell, and so on and so forth. Now, the middle layer inside is the technical term which Patanjali is not using, but Sankhya is using it. That is called ahankar. But I will again try not to load you with too many Sanskrit terms. And then there is an outer layer that is called as manas. And that's what links to the brain and then all parts of the body and so on and so forth. And so there is outer layer of mind, which I will call sometimes as outer mind, and that is what connects to the body. And the center layer, middle layer is called is storing my data, and the real time data which I am observing at that moment is here on chitta. That is called the mind screen. So here there is absolutely zero inertia. Any observation which I have just appears and goes away. While the middle layer has some inertia, it absorbs that knowledge, that piece of knowledge for a while. And if I use it often, it becomes part of my permanent memory. These are all very subatomic systems. All this is residing somewhere here. And that's where, if I were to make a comment, the mainstream view, scientific view, is that our brain is the cause of consciousness. And here, Patanjali's view is the cause of consciousness is me, and this is the source of consciousness, and this is what is passed on, activates my chitta, and then it goes on to various signals, electromagnetic or whatever it is, goes into brain and the spinal cord, and so many things are happening. Like I just decide and I lift my phone here. So, somewhere I decide at this chitta level, and that signal is conveyed to manas and then electromagnetic, then somehow my bones are activated. Very complex process, which I don't know to the 100% extent shall we ever be able to understand, I don't know. But I personally believe this philosophy is so important because one day the scientific community will probably accept that consciousness is not a resultant of physical particles and it has to come from somewhere which is a non-physical thing. Then they will value the ideas of Sankhya and Yoga very much, what uh, Kapil and Patanjali are saying. But even if philosophically we don't understand or agree with all this, there is no denial, and that's what you have seen in the previous course. We have much to benefit from Patanjali's yoga practices, and that's what we are conveying. So it is a practical and pragmatic idea. That's what makes it very useful. And just for you who are in 102, I want to give you basics of this philosophy. But of course, if you have a lot of interest, then we can interact. As far as I'm concerned, hello. Yes, my sound is going. There's somebody wondering if you can share the slides for the. Yes, I think that he must have said when I was not able to share the slides. Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Vijayji there. So we move on and so if you are more interested in it, we can have a bilateral discussion or some question and answer. We'll find it. If you have interest, I will be keen to discuss as much as possible, as much as I know. So this is a diagram. I like it. This is coming from 25 elements of Sankhya, but the way time is going, I have to make it fast. But let's see. So philosophy is, they are basically two independent entities. One is consciousness and one is matter. So that's where things break up. So that's the cornerstone of this philosophy. And matter is in this matter, what is called Prakriti, is in its very primordial state. So that is a theoretical state. And this consciousness is again, as I said, is a singularity of an individual conscious being. And also there is an infinite consciousness, which we will postpone for a while until Patanjali's Sutra go to that statement. In chapter 1, we will come to a statement, Ishwar Pranidhanadva. Then we will discuss this concept. But now we are looking at a human being as such. So, human being as such is this soul. This is my individual consciousness. And then I am, as I said, I am enveloped in that tiny shell. The first principle is what is called chitta and is called mind screen. I have translated into English. And Kapil uses a term called Mahat here. Mahat is translated by scholars of Sankhya as great principle. So if you are familiar with these semantics, you can correlate all this. So this Mahat is what is functionally is my chitta. And the same chitta is also called as Buddhi. And so, we are going deeper into this philosophy. Usually I like to avoid it, but sometimes it becomes difficult. So let me go back to this chitta. Uh, so, I was saying this is my chitta. So very primary function is, if I have picked up any observation from my senses, this is to be displayed here. But this is, we are going into finer discussion. Why Patanjali has used the term chitta and not buddhi? So I think some of you may be interested in that. So the point that piece of knowledge is brought to here, this is instrument of chitta. But as soon as something is brought, like I see my phone here through my eyes, this image is brought on my chitta. The very next thing I do is I conclude, what is this? Of course, all this is happening in such a fast time scale that we don't bother about it. But if you observe them minutely, this image is falling on my chitta, and then a moment later I say, this is a smartphone. The moment I conclude it, that this is a smartphone and not anything else, millions of processes have taken place. Indeed, that this image, I have seen it, and then I have brought in from my memory a lot of other images which are in my memory, and from my past experience I know something like this is to be called as a telephone, smartphone. So I have used my data in the memory because that's where I have some slot, that the thing which has this kind of a shape and form is called as a smartphone. And that knowledge is in my memory, and I have, retrieved it, used it, and then only I conclude this is smartphone. So of course, what we are explaining in long, all this is happening in a moment, and the moment I conclude it, this chit is no more just chit, it becomes a buddhi, because it is helping me conclude that this is smartphone and not something else. So I hope you can see the semantics between chitta and buddhi. Chitta is merely giving me the observation, piece of observation. But once I apply my thinking capability and move one step further, that this is a smartphone, what I can do with this, let me call and this and that, then that same instrument is called buddhi, which is chitta plus other inner instruments which I am using it. So all this is working in as a team, and that's what makes this chitta function as a buddhi. And suppose this is a phone and I have concluded and I want to call, Then, of course, I give a command to my outer mind, manas, and then I activate my fingers, and all this is happening. But this much I was discussing about chitta and buddhi. Let's go back to the Sankhya diagram. So this chitta is also called as mahat, because mahat is the name of that particle which is spread out in the universe, but when it is my instrument, then it is my chitta, but otherwise it is mahat somewhere else. So that is semantics again. And this same chitta becomes buddhi, which I have already explained to you. Now the next particle, which is a derivative of chitta. This is in the Vedic philosophy, this is the minutest particle that exists in the universe. So in the current physics, I cannot say what does it correlate with, but whatever it is, this is what Vedic philosophy is. This is the smallest particle that nature has. Then next derivative is called ahankar, which I have translated as memory. And then there is a kind of there are two-pronged development. Now the green line is what the objects in the external world are made of. So there it is. The next step is 1 to 5. There is a quantitative jump. So that becomes 5 subtle elements. And those 5 subtle elements, in the next derivative is 5 gross elements. So Sanskrit term here is Tanmatra, and this is Panchabhut. The magic number 5 has something to do with our 5 senses. So that I will explain slightly later. But let's look at the red arrows now. So from same ahankara now, so this is the objects that we are trying to discriminate in the world. And I, as a tiny conscious human being, I need certain instruments to be able to figure out the worldly objects. So as far as my instruments are concerned, I am already equipped with this chitta and ahankar, and now I have another instrument that is called manas, what I called as outer mind. So here, when you go to the red color, the step from ahankar is not quantitative, it is more qualitative, because the one unit has become one linkage, one manas unit. There is another arrow, the one becomes now 5 senses. So now I have 5 sense organs and 5 motor organs. I would spend an hour on this diagram, but I must cut it short. So just want to bring a linkage here. Say these are 5, as I said, they correlate with my 5 senses here. So my 5 senses are for sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. So what this philosopher Kapil and Patanjali are visualizing is, if I have a sight organ, then the objects must be emanating something that will be picked up by sight organ. So the technical term here is chakshu. If you are familiar with these terms, otherwise don't bother. Chakshu is my sight organ. This chakshu should not be confused with my eyes. This is an organ which brings in knowledge at the manas level. So if I were to say, when I see something on my retina, which is a convex lens and all that, then it goes to the optic nerves. Finally, that electromagnetic wave, when it goes to the linkage, this manas, at that point is sitting my chakshu. So I hope you understand that. So chakshu is a data which is brought in by my eyes, but now that will be transported to this manas device. And because there is 1:5 relationship here, so the data that is coming from 5 incoming channels, one out of them, one at a time, is passed on. So when I am actually so much engrossed in watching, in noticing, in observing through eyes somebody, then my manas is picking up the data that was brought from my chakshu signal. So chakshu is then the outer, this is the outer organ, my eyes here. Subtle point is the chakshu, and that's where data is transferred to the manas. Chakshu is here. So I was trying to say, in the view of this set of philosophers, these external objects, they sent out something, and that is what is picked up by my sight, by my chakshu. So here that gross element is called Agni. So Agni is the counterpart of chakshu. Somebody will translate it as fire, but in this philosophy, it is just Agni. What is it doing? It all these gross objects, and objects, if it is visible to me, it is sending out some kind of electromagnetic light waves, and that is what is called, that this object, because it has what is called Agni. Now, Agni is an element in an object that throws away some sort of waves which are picked up by my chakshu, by my that are sent out in this particular dipole is called roop. There's two Sanskrit terms now here. Chakshu is my sight organ. Is this external gross object enabled to my chakshu, and that connectivity is by a root called roop. So these are three words. So roop is sent out by this gross object and is picked up by my sense organ chakshu, and then I send it to my manas. That goes to ahankar, where it is stored. That image is stored for a while. It is displayed on my chitta. Yes, I can see the shape and form of this object. So this is just about one such link. There are 5 such things, and all of this is happening so fast. This is what makes a complex and minute system of what is human mind. So all this will be character, very small, subtle instruments of human mind. What we are discussing. Move on to now Patanjali's. His first statement is Yogaschitta. So that is where the word chitta is coming. 4 words here. This I have used even in Patanjali 101. What is our start of Patanjali Yoga Sutra today? So 4 Sanskrit terms: Yoga, Chitti, Niyodha. I tried my best to discuss at length. We may think we are living in this world at this distance, that distance. So we have a wonderful 3-dimensional panoramic view. The fact is, we are all sitting in that tiny cinema hall. That's where the chit is displaying all this. It is so fantastic as an appearance that I am in this hall and so many friends of mine are sitting here. There are books here. A sense of depth. I walk out, there will be a enormous horizon. We have a sense. But actually, all this is happening on that tiny screen that inside. So that's the beauty of that instrument, chitta, which can display. And even if I close my eyes from my memory, I can see my daughter, I can see my wife, this and that. Even New York, and think about Manhattan. All this is happening on my chitta. Anything that is on my chitta is called the vitti. Just imagine hall when you walk in, the screen is blank, white screen. It's a blank state. Cinema begins. Images are coming here. So imagine a counterpart of that blank screen cinema counterpart of that on my chitta. So visualize active mode. There is always mind. So much so when we go to sleep, we have dreams. That is also coming on our chitta. Our chitta is always displaying something to us. It is never in blank mode. That is what is the objective of yoga. So Patanjali is saying it is very difficult to translate the word vitti in a simple manner. So a chitta, the mind is keen. If it is not in its blank mode, whatever is there is its vitti, isn't it? It may be something wanted, like I want to see you now. So your image is coming on chitta because I want to see you. But when I'm sleeping, I am dreaming, which probably is an unwanted stuff, but even that is coming. And sometimes I want to read a book, I want to concentrate, but a lot of distractions are coming. That is also coming on my chitta. They are also unwanted. So my chitta is always displaying something or other, wanted or unwanted, good or bad. It is enjoyable or it is disturbing to me. It can be of all varieties, and that is what actually is my world. All that is happening there, Patanjali says we should attempt to subdue it. So if all the vrittis are subdued, then theoretically I will have my chitta in absolute blank mode, which we have no idea what is that because we are all common human beings. We cannot go that far. But it is important to understand that is the objective of yoga. So if there is a counterpart of cinema hall blank screen, we want to have that state of our screen blank. The closest I can think of is deep sleep. So sometime when you have good luck, you wake up in the morning and it was a dreamless sleep. Now we are in such a hyperactive life, we are seldom in that state. We mostly wake up and we have an idea that I was dreaming. And sometimes the dreams are, you can recall even its details. It is so vividly recallable. That is, of course, sleep was not very good quality because mind was functioning. So, these are the benefits of meditation, which we all have discussed in 101. So I don't have to go again after that. But if you are more in yoga philosophy, this is the challenge how to bring your mind to an absolute subdued state. And if somebody, a newcomer, asks you, what is that? Then I think a good example is when you come out of dreamless sleep, deep sleep, then you imagine you are nowhere. You are out of the world because in your chitta nothing was there. So you tell a newcomer that our objective in meditation is to gain that state of mind, but in conscious mode, in sitting posture. So at least a new student at least knows what is the objective of meditation, blank mind. And then, of course, it takes a lot of practice to go to that state. So that is, by the way, a statement from Kapil. I like that statement. It is goes as Sushupti Samadhi Moksheshu Brahmrupta. So that was a fantastic statement when I came across first time. So Sushupti and Samadhi, deep sleep and Samadhi has been put at par. So, in working life, you should aspire for deep sleep. And as your meditation practice will go, progress more and more, your deep sleep will become, your sleep will become better and your meditation will also become better. So they go hand in hand. That I have discussed at length in 101. I devote 3 sessions out of 16 sessions on sleep because of this reason. So, but here I want to say, Sushupti is granted to you. Of course, you earn it because otherwise you don't even get it. But as a child, it was our default state. So we came into this world with the gift of deep sleep, with the gift of Sushupti. Of course, this is a good barometer to judge your own life that, okay, even this Sushupti has, deep sleep has been snatched away. That means I have not lived my life properly, isn't it? As a human being, I should ideally continue to enjoy Sushupti, deep sleep, and become capable of getting that same state in conscious mode by way of meditation. So, you know how much our life has become unnatural, and that's what we are aiming for our own benefit as well as to pass on this benefit to others. So, if Chitta Vritti Niyodha, if I go back to this fist again, if Chitta is blank, so let's show it to our friends. So I am now talking about the next statement of Patanjali, which is Tada Drashtu Swarupe Avasthanam. What he's saying is, if if I have made this skin blank, and if I am in conscious mode, it is not in deep sleep. So as I have said, deep sleep is not of my making, somebody else grants it. We'll go into that philosophy sometime later. But in day-to-day terminology, you can explain it to your friends. There is a total blackout. Blackout means my chit is there, I am there, but due to some external force, situation is so that I cannot see anything on my chit, or my instrument of chit is not doing its job. Somehow it has been switched off. So deep sleep has to be understood this way. It's not of my making. If I was of my making, I would like to have every night good sleep. But it has been granted to me. Which way it has been granted? As if somebody has put the whole main switch off. So though I am there, the observer, and the instrument of chit is also there, but it's not working. Just like suppose at this very moment I am in this hall, we are all sitting in this hall, and somehow power goes off. So much so it is absolute dark that we cannot see anything, isn't it? So this is an external agency doing it. So is happening in our sleep. If there is total blackout, and if I have good luck, I get that quality of sleep. Otherwise, there is partial blackout, and I have dreams, and all those funny things are happening. So, of course, when it comes to sleep, I want to deserve that total blackout, and then I want to practice meditation so that in my conscious mode, I get that same kind of absolutely subdued chitta without any kind of vritti. And then Patanjali's statement is Tada Drashtu Swarupe Avasthanam. What that means is if you have subdued your chitta thoroughly, then Tada means then, Drashtu means this observer, he is established in his natural form. Now I am naturally what I am. So, you know, this is a philosophical statement. I again go to that slide and try to give you a translation. Tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. Then the observer is in own true form, not just in a momentarily, he is established in that form. So, you know, then only you get to know who you are. You know, then you are, otherwise you are knowing whatever the chit is telling you, isn't it? We are always watching the chitta. So we are observing the chitta, and that's what we come to know. This philosophical question, who am I? You can know only when you observe yourself. And you can observe yourself only when your chitta is blank. But you are not in blackout mode. If you are blackout, then it is blackout. So Sushupti is very good, but that doesn't give you doesn't help you with what is called self-realization. So this is the answer to self-realization. I get to know my true self only when there is nothing happening on my chitta. So this is what the philosophical thing is. Now his sutra number 1.4. So we have covered 1.2 and 1.3. So this is with Vitti Sayupyam Itayat. This is Sanskrit statement. I have not written here. So what he's saying, if you are not established in your own form, then what is happening? Otherwise, when modifications persist on the mind, otherwise means if the chitta is displaying any vritti, then he's saying the observer identifies himself with the particular modification. Like you are watching the cinema, if it is not blank screen, if there is an image on the cinema hall, then you become part of that, isn't it? So that's the way it is happening. In our life, we think we are leading our independent life, but it's not that simple. Actually, we are watching this inner cinema and we are becoming a part. That's why some people say, the world is like a drama happening and you are on a stage, things like that. So people have cooked up all these kind of analogies. So we are basically watching that cinema always. And then he says, what are these vritti? He's classifying them into 5 types. Modifications are of 5 kinds. The original statement is vittaya, panchtaya, klishta, aklishta. So modifications are of 5 kinds for a mind skin, whether the ignorance or without. So, now he's saying the mind skin may be having, there is another technical term, klesh, that we'll discuss sometime later. So somebody's mind skin is with klesh and somebody is without klesh. A quick translation of word klesh is ignorance, avidya, wrong knowledge. But it is not such a bad term as it may sound. Like we are all ignorant in the sense, we think my consciousness is in my mind or is in my brain, so I am ignorant because I don't know that that is in my soul, my atma. So, these are various things where I can be ignorant. Yes, I am ignorant. Even if somebody says, no, no, I know that my consciousness is in my Atma. But then Patanjali will say, you are saying this just because you read it somewhere or you heard it somewhere. You have not seen yourself because you have not gone through that step of tada drashtu swayupavasthanam. You haven't gone through self realization. So you are just saying it because of hearsay. So that is not considered as the experiential knowledge. So you are ignorant, isn't it? Because seeing is believing. If you have not really seen it, how do you believe it? Isn't it? Just because somebody else is saying it. So that will also become an ignorance. So we are all at least ignorant from that point of view. So we have an inbuilt, there is an embedded clash in our chitta. So these are few issues we'll discuss next time. The what are those 5 modifications, etc. A very quick look at some slides so that we can benefit from meditation. Though I have advertised 1 hour and 15 minutes of this session, so that I just want to ensure I don't exceed it. But most of the time, I hope I will end it before then. But we do want to practice, not compromise on our meditation practice. So a quick look at, yes, I am body, mind, and this soul or self or spirit or whatever you call it, that Atma. So this mind is now with those, that shell, the inner mind and outer mind, the chitta, ahankar, the mind skin, memory, and that linkage, all the 3 units. So, we are using the word mind as an aggregate, but this mind is not the brain here, as I said, it is a tiny shell here. The brain in this philosophy is merged into the body. Of course, we haven't come across this, but this is important from practice part. There are a lot of, this is a fantastic system where a lot of background forces are always working. Even in deep sleep, when mind skin is blank, I cannot see anything. A lot of things are happening. All those forces are clubbed here. They are called as background force, or what can be called as non-voluntary forces. Basically, they have five big families coinciding with our nervous system in the brain, the cardiac system, respiratory system, digestive system, etc. So in Sanskrit, they have a family called Pran, and they have five members: Pran, Apan, Vyan, and Saman, and Udan. Again, not going into details of all this, Patanjali singles out one of them, namely the breathing. So breathing is very important. So all these forces are notionally somewhere here, because at one point we will use the concept of Panch Kosh. So this is Annamaya Kosh, this is Pranamaya Kosh, this will be the outer mind will be Manomaya Kosh. The inner mind will be called as Vijnanmaya Kosh. And then there is a notional closest to me that is called Anandamaya Kosh. So there are a lot of semantics here, but they don't contradict, and one has to correlate properly. So the reason I used it is Pranamaya Kosh is between the Annamaya Kosh, the body layer, and the mental layer. So that's why I have placed it somewhere here. But it's not something you can see it. These are forces. They are always working, but you cannot see a force. So, we are not just body, mind, and self, but an in between entity like this. That's what gives rise to. Next slide. I am body and a breathing force and mind, and this is me. Let's move on. I have used this slide in the 101, so I can assume you are familiar with it. But let's go now, break this mind domain into two parts, so that will help me go to Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga. So now we have body and breathing force, outer mind and inner mind. Outer mind is what connects to the body, and inner mind, this further inner side is the chit, which I am always watching. So meditation attempt is basically from this, when I am alert, I want to go to be confined to my own self. So meditation is an inward journey, is to bring my inner mind, the mind skin void of any object, blank empty mind that is void of any thoughts. Meditation is not paying attention on something or being in deep concentration or just being in silence with eyes closed. So, a lot of kinds of meditation classes are there, mindfulness and so on and so forth. To focus on breathing and something like that, which is comparatively easy. This is slightly more difficult, but this is what Patanjali is teaching us. And of course, this has much more gains to benefit from. So finally, I want to be in my cave for some time. So what I was showing you, a thumb in the fist, you imagine you are in a tiny cave here, and that cave, even the mind is outside of the cave. So, notionally, I want to traverse from here and go deep in my cave and be totally disconnected from whatever is happening outside of the cave. So, disconnected from my mind. So, this is what is Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga, and we have had a lot of practice, and I assume you are practicing. And now, these are the 5 steps we used to call, basically representing asana, pratyahara, dharana, and dhyana. Asana is related to stable, comfortable body posture. Pranayam is deep, regulated breathing. So, these 5 steps correspond to my 5 junctions. Pratyahara is I instruct my mind. Usually we recite the code word Om. Then I focus my mind on something, usually on the inner eye, the third eye, sorry, or on my forehead. So I want my mind to be absorbed here. And then I want to disconnect from my mind and be in my cave. That is dhyan, meditation, when I am in the cave. So we have been using these 5 steps: body posture, deep breathing, and then reciting with the sound. And I think all of you are there except one gentleman who has a lot of practice of meditation but has joined us recently. I will try to introduce. We will get to know all others because this is a small compact group. So I want everybody to know everybody so that we can, even those who are in webinar mode, will conduct meditation, etc. So we want to be familiar with all. So these are our 5 steps. And now let's, wherever you are, we take a posture. And in this hall also, we will now use this so that we can devote next 15 minutes. I will just go like this. Yes, you can all be comfortable. So I go into the webinar room now. And here we have taken a sitting posture. Of course, I have simple prescription of Sukhasana, and also I have taught Siddhasana. So one of that posture you want to take, I am going into Siddhasana posture. So the gentleman who had joined us recently, I will have to tell him how he can equip himself with some basics. Of course, he's a practitioner, but some of our terminology or methodology may be different. I don't know how does it affect if we switch off the lights, but then I may not be visible. Okay, let's do it with our lights on. So that was our first step, body posture. And then we want to go into deep breathing, 3 cycles of deep breathing. So each breathing cycle with 4 phases. So, we breathe out, then hold the breath out, then we breathe in and hold the breath within. So that is what is called Rechak, Bahya Kumbhak, Purak, and Abhyantar Kumbhak. I'm just putting the alarm so that we don't exceed. It's 20, 28, so 2 minutes before. Okay, let's do 3 cycles of deep breathing. Deep breathe out. Hold the breath out. Breathe in. Hold the breath within. Breathe out. Hold the breath out. Breathe in. Hold the breath within. One more last cycle. Breathe out. Hold the breath out. Breathe in. Hold it within. Now we let our body do the breathing. We disconnect from breathing as we have discussed. This is a non-voluntary force. Body in its automated manner is always breathing. We become disconnected, unaware of it. Now we recite the sound 5 times together. That is to instruct our mind to disconnect us from the outer world or any worldly thought. As soon as the sound is over, we focus our mind at the third eye or look at the forehead as if there is a wide sky there, and we just walk into the sky to get into our cave. And as we have already practiced, if a thought wave is likely to come in your mind domain, again instruct your mind mentally this time with the sound O. We want to be away from any distinct thoughts. Let's recite the sound 5 times together. Oh. 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 So that was our first session. Next time I will try my best to put the session in such a manner that we will have a block of 20 minutes. And then I will conduct a session as if you are not familiar with meditation practice. We want to simulate how we are going to teach meditation to somebody who is coming for the first time. So our challenge is to develop that 20-minute module, that in 20 minutes we convey to the person how to sit as well as how to meditate. So we want to generate in that module in such a manner that it becomes a standardized module. So next week I will try to time things accordingly. And after that, one of you will do the same thing for the group. That's the way I am planning it. Thank you all and see you next week.